In this video, we'll review the lottery campaigns that I'm currently running. So here we are looking at my lottery campaigns that I have running on my Merch by Amazon account. This is over the last 7 days, $1,500 in spend and 41% ACoS. This is another area that I'm being pretty aggressive this time of year, especially as we lead into this Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, to really get sales across as many products as possible and as many orders on those products as possible. So I scroll down here. So here's all the different campaigns I'm currently running. I've done a lot of testing over time with lottery campaigns on how to segment them and so forth. And you can see I have a lot of pause and probably some more. Oh, these are all archived lottery campaigns that didn't pan out as well. And for the longest time, I was running just 2 lottery campaigns up until a few weeks ago. My all ASINs close and all ASINs loose campaigns. So the lottery campaigns I'm running, I segment by targeting group. So these are all automatic campaigns. And if you're not familiar with lottery campaigns or what they are, I did do a video a ways back on lottery campaigns and what they are. I'll link that in the description. But in short, it's essentially a campaign that has multiple ASINs or products within it instead of a campaign that's targeting only a single ASIN. And they tend to, and in general, they have lots of products. So especially if you're a Merch by Amazon seller or other platforms like KDP, where you could have thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of products, these can work really well to get sales across the board. And the reason I have them segmented by targeting group is for placement adjustments. So I use placement adjustments pretty heavily on lottery campaigns, more so than on my other campaigns for sure. And if you're unfamiliar with placement adjustments, that is done at the campaign level. So you can make an adjustment to what your base bid is and affect what your bid is at the top of search or product pages. And I'll jump into that when we kind of get into the details here. But they're segmented in order to take full advantage of placement adjustments. When you have multiple targets or keywords, any placement adjustment is applied to every single target and keyword. So there's not a great way to tell which keyword or target is contributing to which placements. You could have, let's open this up to go to the placements, take a look. So with your placements, you have your top of search, your product pages, and your rest of search. You can't make an adjustment on your rest of search. This is your base bid, whatever bid you set at the targeting level. That's what it's going to be for the rest of search. Now on top of search and product pages, you do have an adjustment to increase it. You can't decrease it as much as we wish that could happen, but you can increase it. So if you are performing really well on top of search versus your rest of search or product pages, you may want to increase that bid, where increasing just the rest of search could have negative ramifications on, let's say, your product pages if that doesn't perform well, but your top of search does. So in this way, you can have a little more control over what your bids are when it comes to your top of search and product pages. And for top of search, these are going to be the sponsored listings at the very top of the search results. Those first 4 products that say sponsored, those are your tops of search placements. They tend to have higher click-through rates, higher conversion rates, and also higher cost just to show up for that. It's the highest place you can appear for in the search results. So that comes with an expense. Back to our lottery campaigns, kind of where I've ended up at. So I had my all ASIN campaigns for the longest time, and I wanted to kind of branch out from there and start testing new lottery campaigns. So recently, within the last, 5 or 6 weeks, I started new campaigns, and I created a set of lottery campaigns for my standard tees. So these are my best selling product by far, that I would just put standard tees in, no other product type I have in my account. And then I create a set for hoodies. Same thing, just pullover hoodies in these campaigns. And then I'm testing a never sold just for standard tees, although I may expand that to hoodies as well. So there's what I'm getting to is there's a lot of different ways you can segment and test these. It's worth testing all sorts of different categories. You could also do by niche. So if you have like holiday specific ones, so you can put all your Christmas products in a single lottery campaign, or if you have Thanksgiving shirts, whatever that looks like, you put them all into a single campaign. So there's a lot of different ways you can segment these. Again, I'm doing it by targeting group and then by product. And you can see the hoodie ones, which are some of these new ones have taken over my longer running all ASIN ones. If we look at let's go back 30 days and see. We gotta go back further. So let's just take a look at year to date. We'll look at the overall metrics too. So year to date, you can see those two have way more orders than all my other ones. They've been running longer, so it makes a lot of sense why that would be, and have been running at 22% ACOS lifetime. The reason I decided to segment hoodie out from the standard tee really comes down to the profit within each product, where a standard tee have about $5 profit for each sale. A hoodie is about $10 with the price that I sell them for. So I have twice as much money per sale that I could spend towards ads, which means if you have them all grouped together, you could afford a higher bid on the hoodies than you could on the standard tees, given all the same conversion rates and so forth. And that could differ, and I'm not going to dive into that exactly, but you could have higher bids for the hoodies because there's more profit in each sale than you do in the lower ones. So if you do have different products, so whether it's merch, KDP, or whatever platform you're on, if you do have products with big differences in profit per product, not necessarily product margin, hoodies and standard tees both have about the same profit margin for me, but how much you make per sale after all your fees, if you got Amazon fees, cost of goods sold, excluding that, what your actual profit is, I would recommend segmenting those into different lottery campaigns so that you can have different bids, where hoodies might support a higher, and you can see it in my CPCs already, 33, 36 cents, where that might make standard tees unprofitable. Or more unprofitable, I should say. I'm kind of running these at a loss for the most part. Recently, again, as we lead in the holidays and my aggressive advertising strategy, you're missing out on potential impressions and orders by having to have hoodies kind of sync to the level of your standard tees. So let's go back to recent data. And the other category I have, type of lottery campaign that I'm testing, is a never sold. And this is just for standard tees. Again, these are my best-selling product. And the purpose behind that is to get kind of those first orders on products that have never sold for ideally pretty cheap. Again, these are running a little bit higher than I would typically target. I typically target around a 20% or so ACOS for these, and I'm kind of letting it go to get as many sales as possible across all my products. But inside each, they're pretty simple. Inside of each campaign is just a single ad group and one targeting option turned on for each one. So we have just loose match. And with having it set up this way, I know that this ACOS, when I look at this for my placement adjustments, these placement adjustment metrics are applying to this targeting group, and that's it. If I have more than one turned on, there's no way to tell which targeting group or keyword if you're doing manual campaigns. This is all automatic though, so we're going to stick to automatic. So if you're doing multiple or have all these enabled, there's no way to tell if your close match is contributing to, might be performing really well on top of search. Then you might have your substitute that's just performing terribly. And it might look like you have a terrible top of search ACOS, but it's really just that one targeting group pulling it down. You could be missing out on opportunity when it comes to the other targeting group. So I do recommend segmenting it that way for placements for most use cases. The caveat I will say is assuming you have the order volume to support it. So as you can see with all these in the last 7 days, I have double-digit orders for most of these. Some of these are new, so they're still kind of optimizing and kind of figuring out the targeting. Amazon's figuring out the targeting and so forth and optimizing bids. But for the most part, I have enough orders to support being able to segment these. If you're only getting 1 order, 2 orders every week or somewhere in that ballpark, I would probably recommend starting a lottery campaign with all your targeting groups all inside of a single campaign, because you can always segment them out later. So for example, if you do start with all of these turned on, over time, you can take a look at your metrics. And if there's one that's outperforming the other ones, you can turn that campaign into, this loose only by turning the other ones off, and then create new campaigns for these here. And when it comes to optimization, which I'll do a separate video for how I'm optimizing this, I tend to look at a 7-day date range. I want to look at recent data for this when I'm making changes, and I'll optimize them on a general schedule once a week, but probably more often in this time frame as there's more traffic and volatility as well, especially with the higher bids. So just keep more of an eye on it. But that's it. Just want to do a quick video on what lottery campaigns I'm currently running. Would love to hear how you're currently segmenting your lottery campaigns as well and how they're performing. So leave that down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.